Hello, everybody, and welcome back. We are so excited that you are still with us. Brandon, we were just talking about a little bit before we came back. South Carolina is having a surprising year. Yeah. They're not great. They're not like flashy. They're not anything. But I remember South Carolina of old. I remember the Coach Steve Spurrier years. I remember them beating Alabama in 2011 and making us look foolish.
Steven Garcia was the quarterback, right?
Steven Garcia was the quarterback. I remember us great quarterback, which he really wasn't. He was a product of the system.
He wears jorts.
he's Steven Garcia. But this weekend, I only want to mention this because I want it to kind of come into the coaching carousel real quick. And I'm excited about South Carolina. You know, more than I was 10 minutes ago. I got to looking at their schedule, and they're beating teams, and they're playing close with teams that they, you know, outside of the Tennessee game and the Texas A&M game, everybody else has been really close games. Except, I take that back. Georgia beat the brakes off them, but that's Georgia. Anyways, they beat Florida 40-17.
Mm-hmm. The same Florida that said, "We'll see y'all in the SEC championship."
The same Florida that played Alabama to 2. Does that mean South Carolina's better? Was it 3?
It was 3.
I knew it was something like that. I don't know. It's something. I think it was 31-29. That's 2.
Maybe it was 2. I thought it was 3. It don't matter.
It don't really matter. Anyways, this, you know, like, great, go South Carolina, Gamecocks, whatever you want to call them. What's going on in Florida? Does Dan Mullen get fired?
I don't know. I think they fired a couple of guys, maybe a wide receiver coach and a offensive coordinator or something. I can't remember. They fired a couple of coaches. So basically he threw them under the bus like it was, you know, I don't know.
So what I heard is Dan Mullen had inside that he was going to the NFL last year. And when he didn't go to the NFL and he had to like come back and do it all over again in Florida, this is the most underwhelming coach. He's the new Mark Richt. Do you remember Mark Richt at Georgia?
Dude.
He would have, like, everybody would hype him up, and it would be the best 8-4 team you ever seen. This is what Florida has become.
Yeah.
You know, I don't hate on Florida. Like, I miss the old Florida. I miss the Tim Tebow days. I miss the competitive Danny Warfel days. Like, Florida was the team, you know, like Florida was the SEC. And now all we're expecting year in and year out is mediocrity. You know, and it's not good for the SEC. It's not a good look for Florida to see Dan Mullen not care.
Yeah, it seems like he just kind of fell off in the recruiting, and you know, I don't know. I guess more will be revealed, you know. But what I'm really interested in, though, outside of Florida, because I really don't care about them, to be honest with you. I think it's funny that they're losing like they are. But what I'm really interested in is who is going to be LSU's next coach, because a lot of the rumor is it's going to be Jimbo. Like, he's like the number one priority for LSU. And wouldn't that be something?
Well, I know that whoever LSU hires, the next best coach is going to USC. Right? If I'm LSU,
but that's the question, though. Would the next if okay, let me throw out the hypothetical here, right? Jimbo leaves Texas A&M, who he's built into a top 5 program. I mean, it's one of the top. It's at least a top 10 program, right?
Yeah.
But they finished top 5 last year, and they've only got 2 losses right now, and they beat Alabama. So they're arguably top 10 program in the nation. So we'll leave the top 5 off. But they have the potential to finish in the top 5 this year. So we take that. He leaves there. They have his recruits. I mean, he's built it up. He goes to LSU. Is USC, and I mean, he's one of the highest paid coaches, so they've got the money. Would the next best coach really go to USC, or would they go to Texas A&M? That's the question. Like if Mel Tucker was offered the Texas A&M job, do you think he'd be like, no, I'm going to USC? Or do you think he would stay at Michigan State because they can't pay him? They're not going to pay him what Texas A&M would offer. And I think Texas A&M would jump on Mel Tucker like that. I think they'd be like, Mel, hey Mel, we done lost Jimbo. Come on, brother.
Either Mel Tucker or, honestly, I would look at James Franklin.
I think James Franklin is probably more likely to end up at USC than
or your dude up in Minnesota.
SEC.
Your dude up in Minnesota. PJ Fleck.
I love PJ Fleck, but I don't know if he's going to leave Minnesota. He loves that program.
He may not, but like PJ Fleck coming to the SEC. What about?
And he's winning. I mean, they're not great, but they consistently do decent and play competitive games with Vanderbilt talent. So, what can you say?
Here's the big one that I think changes the entire landscape of college football, especially with Cincinnati moving to the Big 12. What if Luke Fickell does not go with them? And let's this is a hypothetical. I'm hypothetical.
That's another big thing.
Luke Fickell gets hired at either LSU or Texas A&M or USC. One of those three. I don't see him going to USC, West Coast. Don't like his vibe.
Yeah, but I think he would be more likely to go to a Big Ten team.
The two SEC schools though are like big time for somebody like Luke Fickell.
Well,
those are time jobs.
Yeah, that's huge. That's another one. I think that would be if it was offered to him, he might take it. If it was me, I would go after Luke Fickell over Mel Tucker, because I'm not saying Mel Tucker's not a good coach, but let's see it a couple years. You know what I mean? Like I need a couple of years of it. I don't want to see one great year. Because we don't know if this is just a really like a fluke year. How much of this is just Kenneth Walker, the 93rd? He's so good, man. He is so good. I don't know how much of it is just him being so dynamic and how much of it is really great coaching. Because a player like him can do that. They can change a game.
It's that Johnny Manziel-esque top player. They changed the dynamic of the entire game.
Right, exactly. It's really, really crazy. It's like if, for example, if Nebraska had a Kenneth Walker, they would not be sitting at 3-7.
Yeah.
They might have 3 losses, but they wouldn't have 7 losses, because a Kenneth Walker would be that difference maker. And I think that's really the only difference between a Michigan State and a Nebraska is a player like that on offense. Kind of like Ohio State. They got several of those types of players, Now, Stroud's got a big arm. He's got a real big arm. He's not a runner, but he's got a real big arm. And then that freshman running back they got, Henderson, is that his name? God. And then, of course, they got Olave. He's probably the best receiver in the nation right now. Him or Jameson Williams. I don't know which one's better, but they got that receiving core at Ohio State is overall probably the best in the nation.
Make me so mad, dude. It bothers me that Ohio State is still
their issues. Their issues defense, not offense.
It is.
But their offense is not as dynamic when they play a really good defense either. So I think it's going to bite them. I think they're going to lose to either Michigan or Michigan State in the next few weeks. They might even drop to Purdue. That would be really interesting, because Purdue is somebody called them the spoiler makers. I thought that was so funny. The spoiler maker.
Well, I guess that kind of wraps up college football this week.
Wait. Let me ask you this. What do you think about Oklahoma being where they're at in the playoff rankings?
I didn't even see where Oklahoma.
They're at number 8.
Oh no, I didn't mean to go to recruiting. I meant to go to. Let's go to the rankings because
Yeah,
I was bring up a minute ago. You know, everybody. The reason I don't like Oklahoma being there is because Ohio State's played 5 or 6 close games, and they've got a loss. They're in the top 4. You know, Michigan State hasn't played it. They played some close games. They've got 1 loss. They're in the top 6 or top 7.
Yeah.
Michigan, same thing, 1 loss, close games. But Oklahoma 9-0 has won every game. They've done everything they've been asked to do. And I'm not on the Oklahoma train. I think like I've been watching this whole Spencer Rattler stuff unfold, and I've been calling it from the very beginning. He was the reason why they were playing all those close games. Because since Caleb Williams has come in, they've been beating teams for 2 touchdowns or more. And I'm not saying that Caleb Williams is the answer, the end all be all. What I'm saying is he was the guy from the very beginning. The whole Van Dyke thing down in Miami. You know, what happens if he's playing the whole season? Does Miami win, 6 games, 7 games already? Or do they, it's the whole problem that I have with Oklahoma is they're playing teams that shouldn't be playing with them closely.
Yeah, they have so much talent on that roster that people shouldn't be getting within 3 touchdowns of them. And then they beat Kansas by 12 on the last, like a touchdown with 50 seconds left or something. You know what I mean? Like, it would have been 5 points. They would have won by 5 if it hadn't been for a touchdown within the last minute. And that's crazy. And that was with Caleb Williams starting. So
yeah,
that's, that's my problem with Oklahoma. Now, like you said, everybody else has not really been standing out outside of Georgia. I don't think anybody has made a much better case than Oklahoma. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know that any other team has just went out and insanely dominated throughout the entire year to the point where they're like solidly said, hey, we are this much better than Oklahoma. And I think with that respect, the record has to mean something,
Yeah.
It has to mean something. But
you're looking at 2 through 8 at this point, where everybody's either got 0 losses or 1 loss.
Right.
But
see, now we're at the middle to the end of November, and this is where it's all going to happen. This is where the magic is, because Ohio State, Michigan, and Michigan State, Ohio's playing both of those guys, both of those teams, right?
Yeah, they all play.
So there's 2 losses across 3 teams right there.
One of them's already
at minimum. So that means that 2 of those teams are out. 2 of those 3 teams are just there's no chance they're getting into the playoff. The team that comes out of that with only 1 loss will go to the conference championship and have an opportunity to win that to get into the playoff. So,
unless it's a 3-way.
Unless it is, but
Michigan's got the loss, so it's not really going to be a 3-way tie.
Well, it would have only worked had Michigan State not lost to Purdue.
Yeah.
See, now that they've lost to Purdue,
it's really going to be a 2-way.
Now that they've lost to Purdue, if they beat Ohio State, it couldn't be a 3-way tie.
True.
And if they lose to Ohio State, it can't be a 3-way tie.
It's going to be
Michigan have to beat Ohio State. Huh?
It'd be a 2-way tie because Michigan would beat Ohio State, and Michigan State loses to Ohio State.
Right, but if Michigan beats Ohio State, then they have 2 losses. But
yeah, they're
right, but it wouldn't be a tie because Michigan would have to win.
Yeah, true. But even if Michigan State still,
they would have the tie with Michigan, and Michigan would have the head-to-head. So there wouldn't be a tie. I think Michigan State losing to Purdue ruined the chance that there being a tiebreaker.
Yeah.
Now I could have that wrong. I'd have to put it on paper and release it. But
Yeah,
regardless. And okay, so then we have the SEC. Alabama controls their destiny. If they win out, they're in the SEC championship. In which case, they need to beat Georgia. They have to beat Georgia. Now, I've heard so many of these sportscasters say that if Alabama plays a close game and loses to Georgia, they're still going to get in because the committee loves Alabama. I don't think so. I think they're going to have to beat Georgia because do you know what the uproar is going to be from the entire world if a 2-loss Alabama gets into the playoff?
It's going to be crazy.
Especially if the outside looking in is a one-loss Michigan or a one-loss Michigan State or, something like that who didn't make the conference championship and didn't get an opportunity, because of whatever. Or, you see what I'm saying here?
Yeah.
So, or you have Cincinnati who's sitting there undefeated and won a couple of ranked games. They still got Houston and SMU. So, I don't see it happening. Alabama's going to have to beat Georgia. And that's the only way they get in. Now, there is not a chance that Texas A&M can run the table and Alabama could lose to Auburn. If that happened, then Texas A&M gets in, and if they beat Georgia, they might have a shot with two losses. A 2-loss SEC champion over Georgia might make a case. Same thing with Auburn. If by chance, because they have
Auburn split out now.
Yeah, I was going to say never mind because they lost to Texas A&M, so never mind. Auburn doesn't have that opportunity. I was thinking before they played Texas A&M, but I forgot they already played. Man, I've been doing too much schoolwork here lately. But anyway, so yeah, Texas A&M, if they won out, they might, because then you'd be like, they beat Alabama and Georgia in the same year. Yeah, they struggled early, but look at why they struggled. They lost their starting quarterback. They lost like 4 other people, starters, and despite that, they beat Alabama, ran the table, and beat Georgia. This is one of the best teams in the nation. That's how they get in. But
the likeliness of that happening.
Oh yeah, I don't see it happening. I don't think it really will. I'm just saying that is a possibility. The only way Oklahoma gets in is if they stay undefeated. If they lose any games, even if it's before the conference championship, they're not getting in. There's no way because of their weak performance in the Big 12 games. You know what I mean? Like they haven't beat a single ranked team.
Really, like at all?
Nuh-uh. And they're playing teams that are like 1-9 or 1-6.
Close.
Yeah, it's not even competitive. So, well, I guess Texas was ranked when they beat them. I think they were, but
I think back with a fury next year.
Texas is a lot like Nebraska. They're a very good team that their record is not indicative of. So when you look at them, I think they're 4-5 now, or 5-4, or something like that. And it's like, what? Why? Because they get up on teams by like 3 or 4 touchdowns, and then with like a quarter and 2 minutes left, you're like, man, they got this one in the bag. And then you go take a leak, and you come back, and they're down by 4 touchdowns on the other side. And like, how did that happen? That's an 8-touchdown swing. What did y'all do?
That's Texas football.
Like it's crazy, man. Like how does that happen? But
it really don't. It shouldn't happen. But
like it's understandable in a game, maybe even 2. But you're doing it 4 games in a row. That's a problem. You can't do that. Oh my gosh.
Let's move on. Let's move on to NBA. I don't know.
Let's,
if you checked
okay,
out
before we do
the-
that, let's wrap this one up and we will come back and do that at the next video. All right. All right, we'll see you
Gotcha.
guys in part 3. Take it easy.